spent a lot of time at the Lago range where he strikes and I defend in here, right? So now we're going to look at the CRUSADA, okay, the cross method. So I'm going to come in here. It's an alla contra method here. To do this, I can't just do this, right? A cut. So he strikes 3, I drop here. Then 5, it's kind of a scoop, so I can do that, yeah? Okay. We're working diez terra, so we'll continue diez terra. So he brings 6 here, 7 here, 8. Just match the angle, perpendicular, right? 9 and 10. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm over here. There it is, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So I've got this hand to support, but I want to make sure that I don't do these things, right? So when this strike comes in, I don't want my fingers out here. So I got to make sure they're back. There's different ways. I can go with my palm. I can go with the blade of my hand. Okay. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Typically, this one's a pretty good place to start with, is this blade option of just being in this way. You just have to make sure that your hand doesn't leak out where that can hit, right? So I come in behind. I can also choose to support in different areas. This is kind of a shorter stick, so it's going to look a little weird, but I can choose to support high, right? So my hand's off the line. I can choose to support low. I've got to have a little more impact to go with that. Or I can choose to kind of support the impact itself. That tends to be what I do, but you should explore it and find out what you do. Okay?
Is there any particular reason why you choose high, low, or middle over any other strike? Is there a specific application for each?
Not specifically. It's just making sure that your hand is in a safe place. Okay. And where your comfort is, because you might be like, well, I'm comfortable kind of spreading out on the stick like this, right? Depending on the weapon. Now, this one probably is specific because of the fact that if you've got something with an edge, especially if it's got an edge to the back side of it, this is your support to add more without putting your hand up where the blade is, right? If you have your own blade to contend with. If it's the back of the blade, you can do this with that too. It really only is a problem for blades that have an edge on both sides. You don't want to just stick there so all of his impact is cutting you, right? Otherwise, yeah, some people just feel more comfortable getting their hand further away and kind of creating this space. Because your angle is important. If I face him head on and I just decide that this is fine, I've got this entire arm just sticking out, right? So I've got to turn and be perpendicular to this. And that takes time. You kind of learn to be in that place. You learn by getting hit in the hand and then going, well, that was the wrong place. Not particularly. Moving to the side, doesn't necessarily make too much sense for that. Instead, you're going to be kind of lower, right? And just get your hand out of it entirely, right? Because you still have, if it deflects and rolls, you've still got cuts in those areas too. You may still be using the side of the blade, so you're not using your edge, but you don't necessarily want to stuff your hand up there, right? Does that make sense? So you can support there. It's also good for heavier weapons and things like that. You learn to use the force of this to extend. That's part of this parada position, is the ability to add energy to the strikes for heavy and unwieldy weapons. Okay. We try this?
One last one.
One last one.
Does this play towards Stoka stepping more?
It can.
Okay.
So that just depends on the question about a Stoka, so being more in this position here. This obviously becomes a lot harder because to get really low, depending on how low he is, I have a limit before I have to start doing this, right? Not because of, hip flexibility is one thing. My ability to get low in this, well, somebody might be able to do, if you're good at pistol squats, maybe you could just be like, boop, and that'd be fine. But the problem is, how mobile are you when you do that, right? How quickly can you change? Because he hits from this side and I drop down, boom, that next thing is coming, right? So I've got to make sure that whatever I do, that it's mobile. Typically, I'll do this more V kalakang literata in porma. Right? Okay. So So I still tend to use a Porma just because for me I like that more offensive thing than this turn. But there's times for both. Okay, let's try. Careful with that, right? So I go fire a 3 again. So when we add that 3, that incline, do you think that's going to help or not help this action?
Get down lower.
Yes. So be low, give it a place to stop. You don't want to ramp it right to your hand.
Right.
Right? If you're going to ramp it, make sure you know where it's going and choose good.
Okay.
Choose wisely. Choose real good. You just got to choose a good one. So now continuing CRUSADA, and we're going to look at it. We're going to pause. We're going to do it with a blade for a second to talk about this. And then we'll do it with a stick as well. So, un momento, por favor. Because what I'm about to show is a blade grab technique, and people will instantly go, you would not do that with a blade. So we'll talk about it. It's not ideal. This is never ideal, but it doesn't mean that you wouldn't do it. So we'll come over this way a little bit. We'll get a little closer. Peace strikes. What we're going to look at is this idea here, right? So as I come through, sneaking here. This is referred to as a pinch grip. Okay? So if you look at the edge situation, my hand is maybe just a little bit of the meat right here exposed to the edge. Otherwise, it's just meat of the blade and the edge is left away. I'm not doing this, right? Truth is, if you've worked enough with blades, you know that you can grab a blade and you can do this, right? The harder you squeeze, the more likely it cuts. But blades are not necessarily designed specifically to do that type of cutting, right? It's a slash. It's the movement this way that's doing the action. So grabbing like this, and you'll see me do that sometimes, this does not automatically mean you get cut, right? It's when they go that it does, okay? So we'll look at this and then we'll put a stick in it because it especially works really good with the stick idea. But it works with this as well, which is as I come in here, and notice as I come in, tend to be angular. Not here, really hard on the edge. Okay? But not necessarily flat either, because if that deflects up, now the edge is facing me. Okay? Does that make sense? So kind of more of this angular, kind of this crossing X position. So here, scoop, cutting. It's just for a moment, and I stay with this. I can stay inside, which is typically where I'll be is here. Okay, does that make sense? Now we'll do it with a stick, which is significantly more applicable, but the grip's not going to change. When I do this with a stick, I'm not just going to ham fist it, right? Thank you, sir. We'll go to stick. And I'm not necessarily looking to disarm. That's not what this is about. This is about finding this and using this to pause this motion and deliver a strike, right? Then I can throw this and hit him again here. So we'll look and we'll just go 1. You'll notice this is why I prefer the travel is more here. The travel is difficult from down. You kind of have to have this rolling motion to make sure that you're not just doing this, right? So I tend to like to be right here specifically for this grabbing place and hitting. We go for angle 2. Okay, here, open, hit. You'll notice I let go on that last one. You don't have to keep it. It's just a matter of making sure that you know where it is to do your technique. Okay? So, and it's just countering. I call it technique. It's just countering, right? Just taking this and I'm hitting. I'm using this disruption combined with a trap. When I hook this way, he'll tell you that it's not just me grabbing this and doing this. It's pulling it into this stick so that it's trapped here, okay? That's important because I need to stop his weapon to do this. Yeah, doesn't matter. Here, okay? Now, hitting hard enough with this motion, and I'm working that disarm right now, but don't rely on that. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen. It just means that that's a thing that could happen, right? So, when I come from the top on the inside, tend to just move this and hit. We play with this. Crusada plus counters. That's all. Use your body. So get there again. Okay. And now as you grab that, now move you, take one step, this leg inside of his body. Yep, yep, come on through. See how that gives you that strike? So then slash your way out. Yeah, you could do it with all of that movement, but the main thing is, instead of trying to move away from it, move into it, because that's what's getting your counter to be in place. Hold this, yeah?
See.
Thank you. With you. So we're going to look at really quickly, and you'll want to be fairly close for this because we're going to talk hands. When I'm doing this, one of the things that you want to feel is this connection, right? So a question that I got a second ago is, can I grab out here and do this? Which you can, right? But I don't know about you, I don't feel very strong when I'm here, right? Everything is independently controlled, so you press, everything is managed independently. So when I'm here, I get the pressure from this, the pull from this, and the lock from my own wrist here, right? So you see how I can bring, how I start taking that. That's just leverage of my elbow across my own stick, right? So this is a thing that happens instantaneously here. It attaches and releases. Does that make sense? So you hit, boom. I'm looking for those places. This one's obviously different, so I'm not going to reach over this. I'm going to stay under this, right? So I don't get that same leverage here, but I get it to your hand. Okay, so now I get that. Maybe. So play with those. So a thing I want to talk about is the placement. I've talked about it a little bit with each of you. And so when he strikes, right, the first thing I've done is I've created a barrier this direction, right? So his exit is no longer forward. Now his exit's what direction? Back, right? So from here, when I come over the top, I'm adding an emphasis this way. So I'm saying, okay, to get this back, you'd have to go that way. I take this away. Okay. What I've done is I've limited his options. So I mean, it's a three-dimensional experience, right? So now, by taking that away, his options are up or down, right? So now, go ahead, choose one. I just go with it, right? I'm connected to it, so I know where it is. So I can move it, he can move it. If he moves it, if he comes in and he decides he's going to go a direction, I just stay with that, and I let that tell me. Does that make sense? I've limited his options, which allows me to track him better, right? Because I only have to track 2 things instead of 4 things. So limit, right? We'll go ahead and we'll work into the next drill. So the next drill starts the same way. We'll go through all 10. I'm here, but now when I'm moving this, I'm going to open and thrust, okay? And thrust. And thrust. So this can be under, this can be over, this can be through, here. Okay? So here. Okay, so now we countered before, we countered with slashes, right? Now we're countering with thrusts. Coincidentally, this is also part of the abecedario. Let's talk for a minute, okay? So we'll take a knee. The reason that I want to talk about this, I'm going to show them in a second, is the abecedario, we have the ABCs, right? Abecedario. Okay? ABC. Right, ABC. So abecedario is the ABCs. Okay. The abecedario that we do is a set, and there's different ones, but we have a specific a la contra set that we do at medium range that came to us by a way of a man named Guru Nate Defensor. Okay, of the Defensor method. I wanted to talk about that real quick because he just passed away about a week ago, and so. He's not very old. It was health issues and that sort of thing. But so I just wanted to take a minute for us to appreciate that what I'm about to show you came from a man who recently passed, and we appreciate what he did for us in the art. He was a big part of what the art did on the mainland. He was in Chicago, is where he was at. So we'll look at abecedario. So and this set is just off of angle 1. So off of an angle 1 slash, I'm going to start in the same place. this a la contra position. Okay, so he strikes, and I have 1 across the hand. Okay, 2, I drop down the hand. 3, I rise up the hand. 4, we tick to the head. These are not in any particular order. This is just what they are. So to the hand, to the head are 2 separate ones. Okay. Now I have the thrust here, and I change sides here. Okay. So if you look at this one, I still come in the same way. There's just a moment that this goes here. Okay. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's the basic 7 off of angle 1. There are more of them, but that's the abecedario from Guru Nate, Defensor, the Defensor method, brought into our system. Okay? So what you can see is that what we're doing is that when we come into this CRUSADA position, we're using all of these things. The slashes and now the thrust, it's no different than what I just did. Yeah? So obviously the thing that he had in there that's extra that we haven't talked about are all the witticks. Okay? Where I come in here and wah. Okay? Okay, and I've got these motions here. Okay, so you could follow this entire series. So what are your options? What options do you have? Well, I can slash things, I can thrust at things, I can snap at things. That's all you're doing, right? So you're taking a single thing, a single instance, and you're using that to define whatever counter you'd like to have next. Right? But I'm telling you right now, you're going to do the thrusts. All right, let's try that. Okay, so looking at a variant. Here's good. Right here's perfect. Not there. No, just kidding. Okay. Looking at a variant, an inside-outside variant, right? So if I'm here, okay, I can pass this through. Okay, 2. Here. Jump into 5, huh? Okay. Okay. Here, his hand is high, so does this make sense? Probably not, right? So under. Now notice I try to keep this between, so we'll go back to 6. Okay, I try to keep this between us here before I switch. Same thing here. Just in case he tries to guide that back in, I don't want to just be like, I'm over here now, right? So we come in, we come 7, here. Okay, we come 8. 8, obviously pretty easy. 9 is here, and 10, same thing. Okay, you and I switch places. We run through the same set again, and here, here. Maybe? Okay. That said, we're to the end of class, so we'll spice it up a bit. Okay, we'll spice it. This is fine. We're going to add a redondo. So we can go, so I'm going to have you do whichever that you like. Okay? So you should have a counter. First off, the drill that we just did where we're passing and this is changing, that's not your counter, right? This is just me choosing where I'm at before my counter happens. My counter can be a slash, my counter can be a thrust. Just like from the inside can be either, right? Now I'm just going to add a redondo. Now I've got vertical redondos and horizontal redondos. So we're just going to come here. Maybe I come to this side. Maybe I slash redondo. Okay? Maybe I thrust redondo. Maybe I pass, hit, hit. That was not a redondo. And neither was that. Okay, so let's play.